Oh, no, there's weirder ones.
What's the weirdest one you heard of?
The strangest disappearance story. There's a lot of people that disappear that don't have a memory. And if you look back and you study missing people, those people historically have been abducted. And there's something about that abduction experience where they can take away part of your mind.
You think alien abduction? That's what you're saying.
Alien entity,
Something.
some type of
Okay.
foreign.
Just want to be clear. We're not talking about like a bad person abducting a person.
No,
Okay.
we're talking about some kind of entity.
Okay.
And they take away part of that mind where they were probably doing something to you that they don't want you to know.
Right.
And there's a lot of those. There's a whole segment of people that I have chronicled that were truck drivers who have amnesia, who were found in conditions that were very strange. There was a truck driver in the Midwest where salt of the earth kind of guy drove independently, wife and a couple kids. He picks up a load. I want to say it was pigs. And his truck is found like outside of Indiana on a little 2-lane highway, stopped on the side of the road. He's not anywhere to be found, but his coat is found in a ditch on the other side of the other lane. So the sheriff comes out, they do a huge search, flyovers, canines, goes on for like 4 or 5 days. Nothing. Week and a half later, his body is found in that field, in the spot where they had searched all that time. Impossible to miss. Coroner says he's been dead for 2 weeks. Well, the sheriff can't make sense of that because he searched that with dogs and people. That guy should have been there. But Joe, I have 1,500 of those cases where canines were brought in, multiple canine teams, multiple searches, and people were not found. And the point I try to make about this is that it's not that the searchers are inept, because I don't believe that. And I don't believe that the canines fail multiple times, because I don't believe that can happen. I don't believe they were there when they were searching. They were left there later on.
And so you've been into this for a long time, right? What was the first case that you looked into that got you thinking that something weird's going on?
Probably would have been in Yosemite. And there was a girl named Stacy Eris. And she, just weirdly, she grew up like 5 miles from me. I grew up in a little city, Cupertino, California. She grew up in Saratoga, the next town over. She went with her dad on a trip by horse, sponsored by a contractor in the park at Yosemite. And they were going to ride into this place called the High Sierra Camp. Her and her dad and 5 other people. And they get escorted in by a cowboy contractor, and they come to these cabins. And her dad's an older guy. They get to the cabin, and she says, "Hey, Dad, I want to go over here to the point. I want to take some pictures." She brings her camera. And one of the guys, a 72-year-old guy, is sitting at that point, and she goes, "I'm going to go right there and sit with him and take some pictures." He goes, "Sure." Dad watches her walk out. They sits down. Old guy, barely could ride the horse. She's taking pictures. She gets up, and down at the bottom of the hill, there's a small lake. And surrounding the lake, there's trees. She walks down into the trees, presumably to take pictures of the lake, but she doesn't come back. Big search. I'm talking about one of the biggest searches in Yosemite history. And they find the lens cap to her camera inside that path in the tree line. They never find her. And that happened 46 years ago. I filed the Freedom of Information Act for that report and all the investigation into it, and I get denied. I appealed. I got denied. Finally, a special agent from the Park Service, just so people know, the Park Service has uniformed police officers, National Park Service police, that patrol their parks. And they go to the National Law Enforcement Academy. Up above them, they have special agents, detectives. And they are doing all the follow-up work that the police officers in the field do. This case goes to a special agent. There's been nothing done on this case in 40 years. The special agent calls me. Why do you want the case? I said, well, that's an irrelevant question according to FOIA. You can't ask that. And he goes, well, I want to know. I said, well, it's been 47 years. I doubt anyone's looked at it. Have you looked at it? No, nobody's looked at it. I said, well, I'd like a copy of it just to understand what happened. He goes, you're never going to get the case. This guy's name was Special Agent U. Why you? I said, why? And he says, none of your business. You're never going to get it. I said, first of all, why talk to me like that? I'm prior law enforcement. I'm not being rude. I just want to know. He goes, forget it. Drop it. You're never going to see it. I said, no, I want that case. And he goes, you've never seen any other missing person case, and you're not going to see this one. I said, whoa, I have over 30 missing person cases from your agency from around the United States that I've FOIA'd before and I've received. You're a liar. You said that to me. I said, no, I'm not a liar. I don't lie. And this is the truth. And he goes, well, you're not getting this one. Anything else you want to know? I said, no, I think you've done it. And that was it. In that amount of time, I've really found out nothing more about the Stacey Harris case. 14-year-old girl, disappeared, never found. Nobody's ever done anything on the case in 40 years. I still haven't seen it. Now, I talked to Tim Burchett, who you had in here the other day. And I explained to him, I want a meeting with Burgum. And I want to lay out what I have and explain the obstruction.
Who's Burgum?
The head of the Department of the Interior.
Okay.
Doug Burgum.
Okay.
And explain to him the obstructions that are happening in his agency. Those are our reports. If nobody's looked at it in 40 plus years, what does it matter if I have it?
Right. The people that were working back then aren't working anymore. It's not like anyone's going to get in trouble.
No, half of them are dead.
Right.
And Tim said, okay, I'll have my people get a hold of you. They got a hold of me. They said that they called DOI. They said that DOI people said, yeah, we'll get a hold of you. I called them 3 times. They won't call me back.
So what do you think's going on?
So when you look at the totality of, and let's just talk about Yosemite. As I dug into it, there's probably over 50 people missing in Yosemite as we talk right now. When I asked for a list from Yosemite, from the Department of the Interior 12 years ago, they said they don't have a list. I asked for a list of missing people from the entire system in the Department of the Interior. They said, we don't have a list. And I said, well, okay, I've written so many books. I'm a printed author. I'm going to ask you to put that list together for me. According to the rules, I fit that criteria to ask.
But they said they don't have a list.
Right. But I asked them to put one together.
Okay.
And they said, we'll get back to you. They said, no, you don't qualify. But if you want us to put together a list from the entire system, it's going to cost you $1.4 million. If you want a list from Yosemite, that's going to cost you $34,000. So that got me really upset. Over the next 2 years, I put the list together. Joe, the 3rd year, you know what Yosemite did? They released a list of missing people from Yosemite. So I know I got all the people from Yosemite. I wrote about them in my books. They still haven't released a list from the entire system.
So do you think they released it because you were pressuring them?